Will, we once had a very long and heartfelt conversation about having children in spite of the state of the world and the pending climate disaster. What advice would you give to inspire someone that is afraid to have a child today?
So, to give context, when me and my wife decided to have a kid, well, we knew there were certain things that we wanted to make sure we did before we tried, right? And that was going on a big trip, which was Japan. We've always wanted to go to Japan, and purchasing a house so that we can raise our future child in a home that we owned.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
And we achieved both of those things during the first Trump presidency. We went to Japan in 2018. We bought our house in 2017, I believe. And
did you just tell people in Japan you were from Canada so you could just escape the
you know what's funny is we didn't have to. It was more, oh, we're from Disney World. That's like, you know,
Yeah,
the landmark that they would recognize more.
You weren't wearing like MAGA hats or anything.
God,
so they just
no.
Yeah.
No. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to do those big things before we decided to have a kid. And I can't remember why we chose to do this in 2020, but it was during the pandemic, and the future felt so uncertain. Like,
Yeah.
the Democratic primaries were happening at that time. You know, there was a bunch of shutdowns. I still had to go into work every single day. It was really scary. And I even remember on November 3rd of that year thinking to myself, please don't let me raise a child under another Trump presidency, you know? And luckily we won, and we made it out of the pandemic mostly, and everything felt fine, you know? And unfortunately, if you're listening to this now, you know that we are back in it, baby. So
this is the first episode we're recording post-election.
That's right.
Just FYI.
And so I'll tell you what was going through my mind when we were trying to conceive. And it was being unafraid of what is to come. See, humans, we like to try and rationalize the intangible. We like to think that we know what the future is going to hold. And yeah, it does feel like it can be bleak. You know, I can't lie to you that there may not be a good environment for your children to grow into. It may not feel safe. It may not feel hopeful, but you don't know that. You don't know what the future holds. There could be changes. It could work out. And as, you know, as President Bush once said, we don't negotiate with terrorists. And so I chose to not be afraid to live my life and do the things that I want to do to enrich them. And I'll tell you, my son, who is 3 now, it's been a difficult time because he's a toddler, and toddlers are maniacal little sociopaths.
They're little Trumps, yeah.
They are essentially. It's like I have my own in my house, which you know helps me get through these next 4 years. But it's also been so very enriching to watch this kid grow and watch him be excited over everything. Like, yeah, there's so many atrocities and wrongs in the world, but a lot of that is out of your hands, and you can't control that, and so you shouldn't let that control you. And like, it's just the duality of reality, where there are people out there who don't know if they're going to see tomorrow. And my kid is just really excited to see the Sonic movie when it comes out next month. Like, it's crazy how you can live in this reality where you can hold two things in the same breath. And so if you are afraid of bringing a kid into this world, or if maybe your partner is currently pregnant right now and things look uncertain, I'll tell you that child is going to need all of your attention. And so it might take it away from all of the bad that's happening right now. It might be a good distraction, and that kid could be the hope that gets you through it, and also the hope that maybe pulls us in a better direction. You just don't really know.
Yeah. If I can jump in too,
Yeah,
I
of
feel
course.
like what you're saying is like, you can't give in to despair.
You can't.
Like, you have to have hope. Otherwise, like,
what's the point?
There is no point. Yeah.
There's no point.
Exactly. And I feel like that is ultimately the message of this movie. Like, that is the point of this movie. And I saw this movie when I was 16.
Same.
And, like, felt it connected with me in a very deep way. But that, I watched it again when I was, like, 21. And it hit a little differently, you know? And then I watched it now, 34, with a wife and child, completely hit me a different way.
Yeah.
This movie really unlocked things for me. I'll get into later in the episode, but goddamn, it's never been more prescient.
It is kind of insane.
From an old hippie's cannabis growing cabin hidden in the woods, this is Debaser, a film podcast. I'm Jared Rusk, and I'm joined by my co-host, Will Taylor. On this show, of course, we explore both new and familiar movies as we bring you details and discussion about them, all in an effort to debase the films and ourselves. Today's episode, a futuristic dystopian film set in humanity's final years that has sadly become all too relevant in the movie Children of Men. Stay tuned.
You gotta kick it off with a killer to grab attention. Then you gotta take it up a notch.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us.
Who are you?
I'm Shiva, the god of death.
Cells. Interlinked.
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
It's called strawberry cough.
Cough. Come on.
Cough.
You taste it. Will, we're so back.
We are
Sorry to
so
sigh
back.
into the mic. Hey, if you want to reach out to us, you can email us at debaserpod@gmail.com. Just want to drop that in there again.
This is the correct email.
This is the correct email, man. debaserpod@gmail.com. I still need to redo the outro so that it's all one clear take, because I've just been dropping in like me and Courtney saying it the last few episodes. So I hope that's a little Easter egg people get to enjoy at the end there. It's like the last thing we ever do. Although I ended the It Follows episode with you saying it swallows.
Oh, did I say that?
And me yelling at you about it.
I don't remember saying that.
You don't remember this at all?
No. Look, man, I say shit and I forget it like immediately. It's a fire
that was so vile. And of course I'm saying it at the beginning of this episode now, but I cut it and pasted it in the last 2 seconds of that episode, just as like a little, Easter egg.
If you made it this far, it swallows. God damn it.
But that's just to lighten the mood, because this is a dark movie, man.
It is a dark movie, but once again, it has a beacon of hope. It has a good, hopeful
ultimately
message.
It has a good message. Yeah. I want to hit on really fast before I get into like the details.
Yeah.
I mentioned this in the intro, but I watched this movie at like 16.
Yeah, I want you.
Maybe 17, actually.
Did you see it in theaters?
No, I saw it on DVD really early because
okay.
I knew someone who worked at Blockbuster who was like, "You have to see this movie."
Yeah.
And he just gave me it.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it in theaters. It came out in like October, November.
It came out on Christmas 2006.
Oh, then I was 17, but by 5 days.
Okay, yeah. I may have been 16 actually, because it probably went to DVD pretty fast. I don't know. I don't recall.
It did. I remember like the turnaround. Like I remember it going to physical, and I bought a copy.
It did not do well in theaters. Like I'll get to it.
You're kidding me.
It didn't even make its budget.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's the reason Alfonso Cuarón hasn't made a ton more films.
He did Gravity.
Yeah, but he's made 2 full
I know,
films
he hasn't made anything
since this
that, yeah.
in 2006.
Yeah, I know.
Like the man should have a $100 million movie every 4 years.
Yeah, no,
like,
you're
it's
not
crazy.
You're not kidding.
He's probably the least prolific of. I forget what the.
Don't they call themselves the Three Amigos?
Yes, the Three Amigos. Thank you.
Okay,
I meant to look it up.
All right,
it's him, Guillermo del Toro, and
Alejandro G. Iñárritu.
That's it.
Iñárritu.
Alejandro Iñárritu. But yeah, I had someone like very early on, like I was in high school, like got me the DVD and was like, "You have to watch this." And I remember sitting there like holding my parents' DVD player in my lap and like watching it on my little tiny like screen in my room.
Yeah,
and just like being so emotionally affected by a movie. I was so young that like that was kind of rare for me.
What emotion did you feel?
I was like profoundly sad.
Really?
But like really engaged in the movie.
Yeah.
And like I think later I realized that's because of the long takes, they're super engaging. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the most like impressive like cinematography like you've maybe like almost ever seen, because it's just so wild how they managed to do all these long takes. But and they're not just for show that like a Scorsese or Tarantino will do. They're just full on. It's just to keep you in it. And like, yeah, they do some trickery too to like make it look like one longer take, just that you're not taken out of it, you know. But I just remember being so engaged and like profoundly affected that I think I could say that this movie is the reason I'm such a like film junkie now. And like, I'm obsessed with movies, because this really opened me up to being like, wow, films are like the great empathizer. Because it was around this time that like, I really started to get my shit together. Like emotionally and like it's just in my head, like, and as a person.
Yeah.
You know, I was still in high school. I wasn't like, I didn't have a job yet or anything like that. But I was like building my personality and like, you know, figuring out what I thought politically and how I felt about things, you know, socially. And this movie was like, had a big impact on that.
That's crazy.
And started influencing like what I thought and felt and why I loved movies and wanted to seek out lots more movies.
Yeah.
This movie just had that effect on me.
I feel kind of similar.
Yeah.
Backstory for me is I remember the trailers for it were like really emphasizing the action.
See, I didn't know shit about it until that DVD showed up. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, so Haley, who was my girlfriend at the time, and now my wife and the mother of my child, she was working at the Cobb. So we got to see movies for free all the time.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to see Children of Men. This movie looks like it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And I remember finishing it and being like, I loved it.
Were you alone in the theater too?
No, I wish. No, it was me and Haley. We saw it together. And then we went to, I think, Floridina's afterwards to get some pizza.
To cry.
Well, so that's the funny thing is I remember watching this movie and being like, damn, that was really fucking good. And not feeling anything other than that.
I agree. I don't actually think I was like in my feelings about it, because I was a lot more lackadaisical about stuff like that.
Same.
When I was younger.
Yeah.
It's now that I'm older and like have a family that like I will cry at the drop of a hat at like weird stuff like that, you know?
Oh, I know the feeling.
Like you get softer as you get older, you know? And like as you should. Because like when I was a kid, I wanted to see extreme stuff and like wasn't really that affected by it. And now I'm like, I don't even want to see somebody get hurt on the news, you know? Like don't, you know?
So it's, you said use the word lackadaisical, and I think that hits it right on the head. We were both 16.
Yeah.
We did not know what a dystopia was, even though we were growing up in one.
Yeah.
In a way.
You didn't see this and think, wow, that's going to be real in like 10 years.
Sure as fuck didn't.
Yeah.
You know, it was fiction. And, you know, I come from a background of, I love Saving Private Ryan and, you know, Black Hawk Down and shit. So like the big action sequence at the end of the movie, like, I loved it. I thought it was so fucking cool and whatnot. And I remember leaving the movie being like, wow, that was something so drastically different from anything that I've ever seen. And it was like so well shot, and the acting was amazing. And like, I know there's a message there, but I'm 16 and I don't know what that is, but guns are cool, you know? And then I remember like, I loved it so much that Haley had gotten me a poster, I can't remember, like shortly after, of Children of Men, and I only had like 3 posters in my room, and that was one of them. You know, I don't think that the film also made me want to like go out and find other movies that were like it, because I remember this was around the same time that I saw like Saw, and you know I'm like big on gore, porn, horror movies,
torture,
and shit. But it's always stuck with me. The movie has always stuck with me, and I remember buying the DVD and showing my brother. And he thought it was, really excellent too. He would have been like 12 at the time. Maybe I shouldn't have showed it to him, but I did. And I remember like coming back in my 20s and watching it and being like, man, this is classic. Like this movie doesn't get any worse. And then 2017 rolls around and you've had a person talking about rounding up, minorities and shipping them out.
Putting kids in cages. Doing bans on, specific countries and whatnot, and just the really vile stuff. And then you watch this movie and all of a sudden it fucking clicks just like that. Like, holy shit, this isn't fantasy. This is a like absolute reality. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I think I even made like a long, stupid fucking Facebook post. I know I talked to you about it, actually. Yeah, I remember talking with you about it because I've always loved this movie ever since I saw it.
Yeah, and like that's something not that we bonded over, but we were just like, oh, you like this movie too? Of course. Like, it's so good, you know? Yeah. And once again, watching it last night and knowing what is about to happen in this country, it's so, and like around the same time too, because this takes place in 2027.
Yeah.
That's 3 years down the way. That's almost 2 years down the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the guy who wrote the book and the director
It's
new.
She's a lady, actually, the author.
Oh, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm canceled. Just you know what? Go ahead and unplug my mic. I'll leave. I'm out of here.
She's actually in the cafe in the beginning.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, she's an extra in the movie, but gets blown up, you know?
Yeah. Dude, Jared, that unlocks another fucking element to the film. I'm curious if the director had her on, like...
Her name is P.D. James.
P.D. James. Well, fantastic book, I'm assuming, because the film version of it is
I actually want to check it out because the movie apparently doesn't share a lot of similarities with it.
Really?
I read like a very quick, like, here's what's largely different with it because like I should say the director, who was one of 5 credited writers on the movie, didn't want to read it. He's like, I don't want to read it. I want someone to read it. Like, give me a synopsis and then we'll jump off from there. Because he didn't want to make like a direct adaptation.
Yeah, he wanted
to use it as a jumping off point. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But she liked it. She was like, I'm very impressed with this movie. Like, I feel like he got the idea and made his own version of it, essentially. So she was happy with it. And she's in it too. So I think that's like giving it credence.
The blessing, yeah.
Yeah. But he changed a lot of things. And from what I read, just from people saying like, here's what's different, I think I prefer the movie. Because the book sounds it's more about like an elitist person defeating an elitist person. And the ending sounded really silly from what I read.
Oh, okay.
I much prefer the movie. Just, again, not having actually read the book, just from what I read, the synopsis of it, I think I prefer the movie. And I don't think immigration was even a part of the book at all. And it's a huge part of this. And I think it helps that I think it helps that the director is Mexican.
Yeah.
And he's making a British film, which feels strange.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it is set in Britain, so.
Well, I think the setting doesn't really matter.
Right. But I do think it predicted Brexit essentially too.
Oh, 100%.
And people have been saying that for years, obviously, but but the writing was on the wall. I should say the director, Alfonso, has been like, I don't think I was being like a psychic about this stuff. He's like, the writing was on the wall. Like, if you just listened to what like the experts were saying at the time, they were like, this is what's going to happen. And he's like, I just wrote that into the movie.
In 2006?
Yeah. And he's like, and then it happened like 10 years later. And he's like, of course, they all said it would. Like, I know. That's what I was like saying. Like, if the worst things happen that people were warning about, here's what it is. And he's like, and guess what?
That's crazy.
He's like, I'm no psychic. I was just writing what was going to happen.
Super side note.
Yeah.
But did you ever read that story that Tim Walz is like one of his classes predicted the schism in South Africa?
No.
I'll have to pull it up, but basically, like he taught them to see trends and whatnot, and they came to this conclusion that I don't know if it was doing the apartheid thing or the Tutsis and the I can't remember the other group and their conflict and how it was going to pan out or what was going to happen, but like they predicted it, and then sure shit, like 5 years later, it happened.
Damn.
Yeah,
I was not aware of that.
It's following trends, dude.
Yeah. Well.
You don't have to leave that in. You can cut that one out because I'm clearly not as versed.
In case you're wrong.
Yeah. I know I'm not wrong, but I can't remember like the actual details on it. But I know that had something to do in Africa.
Yeah.
And it was his kids who predicted it like 5 years.
His like students.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me get into the details of the film.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Today's film is titled Children of Men. It was released on December 25th, 2006, like I mentioned. It's available to watch right now on Prime Video.
Mm-hmm.
There has not been a lot of physical media releases. There's just been like the one DVD and the one Blu-ray.
I've got the one DVD.
I think the Blu-ray you can find is still the one that was released like when Blu-rays were first coming out.
Like in 2008.
Because I've had the same one and I've not seen a re-release since. And I even just like did a cursory search to be like, is there like a re-release or even a 4K or like a special edition?
Nope.
Nothing.
That's crazy.
You still see the base edition. And it's one of the first Blu-rays because it even says like when you pop it in that like, hey, Blu-ray is a new format, so not everything will probably work on your player. And it's like, okay. So yeah, I don't know. Physical
that's
media,
crazy.
Hey, that's my physical media corner. Sorry. The film stars Clive Owen, Julianne Moore.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Oh, fucking A. Thank you. One more time, clean.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Thank you so much. Pam Ferris, Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah.
Did you know that was him?
Oh my God. Is he Patrick?
He's the fucking white dude with dreads that you hate. I was going to ask you
He's the
later,
Irish
like, did you
guy.
clock that? Because they
Sure
don't ever
didn't.
like zoom in on him, but I don't think I would have recognized him anyway.
Fuck no, because I've only ever known him with like short hair.
Right.
That's
like
crazy.
Pacific Rim crossover, man.
What the dude? Everything leads back.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy, dude.
And Michael Caine, of course.
Yeah, Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. What's the
Strawberry Cove.
the trick to saying Michael Caine in his own accent is saying my cocaine.
Michael Caine.
So the premise of Children of Men in 2027, in a chaotic world in which humans can no longer procreate, a former activist agrees to help transport a miraculously pregnant woman to sanctuary at sea, where her child's birth may help scientists save the future of humankind. In a world.
In a world.
The film was directed by Alfonso Cuarón, and the film is credited to 5 different writers. I guess they all took turns on the screenplay. You know, this was they went through a lot of writing. The credited writers are Alfonso Cuarón, Timothy J. Sexton, David Arata, Mark Fergus, and Hawk Ostby. It should also be noted that apparently Clive Owen didn't get an official writing credit, but did do a lot of input on the film. And
Did he?
Cuarón credits him with either improving a lot of stuff in the moment or just having a lot of notes during pre-production that they went with. And he was such a good collaborator.
Do you remember when he was like so big?
Yes, and I miss it. I love him.
Yeah, same here.
I first got to know him through Sin City. Like one of my early favorite films is like as a teenager. And like, you know what? I used to cringe about that. You know what? Fuck that. That movie's fun. And I was 13 or 14. Give me a fucking break. That movie rules. Anyway.
Slop it up, pig.
He's really good in it.
I know he is. Of course he is. Because he's
and
good.
then like he's of course this movie.
Yeah.
Like maybe one of his top films, period. He's also really fun in Shoot 'em Up.
Yep.
A movie I will defend.
That's
Like,
fine.
It's really stupid.
I've
but
seen
it's
it once,
fun.
and that's
It
all I
knows
really need
it's
to see.
stupid. Yeah.
And then what happened? He just dropped off.
He just he shows up every once in a while in a small role, and
Yep.
I'm just shocked at how old he is now. You know,
Yeah,
how old he
same.
looks, you know.
Same.
But he's great. I love
he
the
is.
guy. Yeah.
I love it whenever it pops up too. It's a fucking shame. Like, dude, this movie had such a profound impact on me, and like it's a bummer never seeing him anything. And then same thing with like Julianne Moore. Like she's like in nothing.
Oh no, she's in everything. I love her.
Oh, is she really?
She's in everything. Yeah.
Oh, the last movie I remember seeing her in was like Don Juan.
I feel like she's dropped off a little bit because that's because she's an actress of a certain age in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And like that is like a shitty thing, but like that's kind of what happens. But she was in so much stuff around this time and before it and a little after it too. Should she be getting more work? 100%.
Yeah.
But she's amazing. She's what is she bad in, really?
I don't know. I will tell you this. I watched The Lost World so many times that I don't.
That's right.
I do not know what her. I always forget her real name. I always call her Sarah Harding. Anytime she pops up on the screen, I'm like, oh hey, look, it's Sarah Harding.
Have you seen Boogie Nights?
I have. Yeah. Oh, I forgot she's in
so
that.
good in that. Yeah.
I forgot she was in that.
Man, she's amazing. I love her. Okay, the budget for this film. Do you have a guess?
Well, you're telling me that it didn't make its budget back, so I'm going to go with, let's say 250 million.
No. This is 2006.
147.
You're way overshooting it.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. Marvel has broken me.
Has
sorry.
broken you. Yeah.
Let's go with 65 mil.
Oh wow! Okay? That was a lot better. 76.
Oh hey.
The film's budget was $76 million, which was pretty big for the time. Not astronomical, but big. And you can see why when you see the film.
Iron Man comes out a year later and ruins everything.
Yeah, exactly. And the power dynamic of the film universe was forever changed. But yeah, no, this film has like lots of very expensive long takes, lots of special effects, lots of practical effects. I mean, you name it. And just not a lot of big name stars, because it spent their money elsewhere, really. Too.
Yeah.
But the film, unfortunately, only grossed $70 million. So it was.
Oh, it barely.
I know, but that's still considered a bomb. I know. And that might be why Cuarón either hasn't been able to get the work he's wanted, or
he did Gravity. Did
I understand,
it not win
but he's done
awards.
He's done 2 major feature-length films since this movie. So right before this film, he did Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which I have not seen all the Harry Potter movies. I don't care, but I hear that that's one of the better ones, if not the best one.
Yeah, I will say I believe that my wife hates that one.
Really?
Because it's not faithful to the book, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
Or
I can see him taking liberties
they fuck something up. I can't
artistic
remember.
reasons.
Yeah.
But
if I got that wrong, honey, I'm so sorry. don't hit me, please.
Don't come at us, please. But he's made 2 feature-length films since Children of Men, and they are Gravity and Roma. both great movies. I saw Gravity in theaters and was like, I like this movie. It feels like one long take and it's very intense.
Yeah.
Roma, I think, was straight to Netflix. It was a Netflix original.
I haven't seen it.
It was a great movie, though.
Oh, okay.
It is a black and white film about these two, not babysitters, but like they're like housekeepers and they help raise the kids.
Oh,
but they're like live-in nannies.
It's not para.
Well, they're basically
whatever
like
theirs,
live-in nannies and
Yeah.
maids. But it's about their lives and then the family of the people that they care for. It's a really beautiful movie. I think both of those movies won some awards, like Academy
Oh, I
Awards.
know
I'm
for a fact
fairly
that
certain.
Gravity did. I remember like everybody was talking about that shit.
Roma may have won Best Picture that year.
Oh shit!
Because I remember him winning an award and dedicating the award to his nanny growing up, and thinking like that was so sweet.
Yeah. I vaguely remember this.
Yeah.
Get this man back in the
Oh my
fucking
God.
director's chair. Come on, man.
Come on, Hollywood, you're fucking up.
You're fucking up. Stop with the Marvel films.
So I will say, the movie was not exactly it got good reviews, but at the time it wasn't like highly praised. Like people weren't super hot on it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like going through the reviews, before this episode, there was a lot of people like reviewing it like 10, 15 years later and being like, wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Is he a fucking time traveler?
And I will say there were some bad reviews from the year it came out that I think aged like milk.
Well, let's hear it.
I didn't save any of them, but they were just like, wow, this movie doesn't know what it's talking about.
This movie is completely unbelievable.
And it's like, oh, buddy.
Yeah, if only you fucking knew.
I almost want to look up who this critic is now and see if he's dead or something. Anyway, The Children of Men has a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is really good, but that's a modern score. I don't think it was that high.
I don't give a fuck,
but
that's what it deserves.
Yeah. So writing for The New Yorker, film critic Anthony Lane said of the film, even if you don't buy the main conceit, the scrumbled texture of the movie makes it feel not just plausible, but recognizable, and Cuarón takes care never to paint the future as consolingly different. In her review of the film for Screen Queens, critic Millicent Thomas wrote, "It is simultaneously soul-crushing and spirit-lifting. Watching 12 years after its release, the potent themes of immigration, border control, and seeking humanity in others means Children of Men remains more timely than ever."
Jared, she did the same thing I did.
Yeah, I know. I think you're stupid if you don't come away from this film with that.
Yeah,
opinion.
well, it's just.
I'm sorry. Like, I shouldn't speak in like absolutes, but like
No, yeah. But I was just like, it's crazy. Like 12 years, 2018. It's like right around the same time that I rewatched the film and just like, oh my God, it's like
no, 100%. Like that's the takeaway for sure. Over on Letterboxd though, user Brandon Reese reviewed Children of Men, writing, "Emotionally, pull me finger."
I was gonna make that joke, but there he got me.
I knew how he went, but watching that scene again, what?
No, that's
okay. I thought you were like trying to trigger me for something.
No.
But it hurt, man.
Laughing in the face of certain death, like
and still doing it like 3 times on, like still taunting that guy.
You choose how you go, and if you know that it's for certain, spite the other person.
Be Jasper, man.
Be Jasper.
Like stall for people to save themselves so that you can, do what you can for them, kind of thing.
Exactly.
God, what a tragic man. I love this movie.
So good.
Okay, that's all my details. Let's see. Again, I don't want to read.
Yeah, the
all the shit that I got.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how this movie is only an hour and 50 minutes long.
Yeah, I was like, this movie's like 2.5, right? When I put it in, and I was like, I need to like buckle in for a long night. And I was like, wait, what? It's only that long?
Hour 49, I believe.
Yeah. I got to go on a little tangent here.
Let's hear it.
Man, The Last of Us like really ripped the fuck out of this movie, huh?
Yeah. Like no shit. So let's pull back the curtain a little bit.
Yeah,
and let everybody else in on the conversations that we have when it comes to watching movies. So
do you want to talk about what we were going to cover?
Yeah, let's get into it. So the election happened. I was pretty depressed. Still kind of am dealing with a little bit of depression. I'll get out of it soon. And I remember reaching out to you. It was like days after, and I was like, Jared, I know we're gonna have to record eventually.
Yeah.
And everything feels so fucking heavy. It feels like a disservice to do a film that doesn't like doesn't
acknowledge
the like what's going on.
No, I agree. I was already in the headspace before you said anything that like we need to do like dark movies about dystopian or fascistic governments kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
that, but also something that is uplifting, that does feel like a glimmer of hope in a world of darkness.
Right.
Like something that
we without having saying it, we were both on the same
frequency and shit. And you were like, God, let's do Escape from New York. And I remember like the last time I saw that was right when me and my wife were first dating. I think like we had just gotten Netflix, and this is like when you still had to plug a DVD into your console or whatever for Netflix and shit to do streaming and whatnot. And I remember like Escape from New York was one of the things like, oh, hey, let's watch this. Yeah. I remember seeing this when I was like 7, you know? And so I was down. And then we were trying to figure out when we were going to record, and you had rewatched the film Escape from New York, and you're like,
I was an hour into it.
Yeah. Oh, was that?
Yeah. And the texted you, and I was like, I don't think I want to do this.
You're like, oh, I think the second one was way better.
Okay, hold on. Before you get me in trouble.
Not way better. Sorry. Go ahead.
I understand that this is considered blasphemy by a lot of people, especially in the film community, but I'm just going to put myself out there.
Yeah.
I think I prefer Escape from LA to Escape from New York.
Okay.
And I understand that there are people booing and hissing and deleting their podcast right now. I'm sorry. I am a child of the 90s. I love nu metal. I love Tool. Tool is in that movie.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a point where I don't want to spoil it, but the ending of Escape from LA, I love so much. I think it's so clever, even though that movie is like really corny and cheesy.
I've never seen it.
It has a really good ending. Yeah. I really like what he does.
Gotcha.
And just like the way he does it. And like, yeah, that movie is like almost beat for beat the same as Escape from New York, but like a little bit more exciting.
Gotcha.
And like, I feel like it makes it better.
I've never seen it.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
That opinion.
It's okay.
I feel wrong for having that opinion, but it's just my opinion.
Dude, I no judgment over here, baby. But then you pitched like, hey, let's do one of these. And it was The Children of Men. And what was the other one? It wasn't V for Vendetta. It was a different one.
Oh, I thought it was V for Vendetta because I still want to do that.
Oh, no, we're doing V for Vendetta. We're doing all three of the ones that you pitched.
That reminds me, earlier when you said you had a poster of this in your room growing up.
Yeah.
I had a poster of V for Vendetta in my room growing up.
Right on.
I had V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
An Elder Scrolls Morrowind poster and a Kurt Cobain poster.
All right.
So if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about me now, even.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had Children of Men, a Jurassic Park poster, and I can't remember I think it was Halo. I think I had a Halo 3 thing. Of course. Which also, once again, if you knew me.
Yeah.
I haven't changed at all. But yeah, so you offered up a couple of them, and I was like, you know what, Jared? Snowpiercer. That it was Children of Men and Snowpiercer, and then later you talked about V for Vendetta. We're gonna do all three of those films.
Yeah.
I'm locking that shit in right now.
Yeah.
We're gonna do all three of those. But anyways,
we're not gonna talk about the election.
No,
we want you to listen and like try to feel better. But God damn it. We want you to be aware, Yeah. We want to be prescient at the same time.
But all those films do end on a hopeful note.
Exactly.
And I also want to end this episode on a hopeful note whenever we get to the end of it. But anyways, when I saw Children of Men on the list, I was like, that's exactly what I want to watch, because I remember after the last election, I watched it on a whim. I wasn't looking for anything. I was looking for a comfort film.
Yeah.
And the parallels were fucking crazy. And having lived through that and then come out on the other side still alive, and having to go through it again, it just felt like the right time to rewatch the movie. And fuck, I'm so glad that we did, because this movie is so crazy how much it lines up with what is happening now. And I know we don't like do beat by beat how do you say,
like a plot summary,
but more I want to talk about the characters, the setting, and the visualizations that are given to us, because those are the important things about the movie. And I'm glad that you said that after hearing about like what the book is about. I'm glad that the movie has its own identity. And you know what, I agree. I feel like the film is almost a mirror reflecting back onto us the horrors of what can be and what is happening right now. And a visual medium is more visceral than what even a book. What's the medium for books? I'm really showing my ignorance here. What would you call
literature?
Literature, yeah, literary media.
I mean,
Sorry.
technically, it's still visual, but just in a different sense.
In a different sense, but like, yeah, the literary, you can think up anything. It's intangible. It's whatever you want it to be. But the film takes a very poignant stance on the atrocities that us human beings put other human beings through, all in the name of security. And it's crazy. And I don't know where you want to start, but let's get into it.
Let me roll through it.
Sure.
Okay, so if you haven't seen the movie and you're refusing to watch it beforehand,
if you're refusing to watch it, turn off the episode.
I know, like, you're making a mistake.
I don't want you to
know.
listen to the film.
You really
Or
need to see this film.
podcast.
I cannot stress to you enough like how important it is to watch this movie.
Yeah.
But, so Children of Men opens in the year 2027 with our protagonist Theo, played by Clive Owen. He's stopping for coffee at a little shop in London. And there's a horde of people inside glued to the TV in horror as the news is announcing that the youngest person in the world, an 18-year-old named Diego, has recently been killed.
Baby Diego.
We learned from the broadcast that infertility has become a worldwide crisis and no children have been born in over 18 years. As a result, societies have begun to collapse across the globe due to various disasters like disease, famine, terrorism, you name it. And the United Kingdom, which is the setting of the film, has become a militarized police state in response to immigrants, activists, and terrorists. As Theo picks up his coffee and walks down the street, a bomb goes off inside the coffee shop behind him. As Theo looks back, a woman stumbles from the shop, covered in soot, carrying her own dismembered arm in shock.
And then the title comes up.
And the title drops. That is your introduction.
I remember that gripped me immediately.
Yes.
Like I was like, holy fucking shit, what is going on?
You want to know what's even more insane?
What's that?
They filmed that scene in a location in London where a bomb had gone off 2 weeks prior.
You're fucking kidding me.
Al Qaeda had been bombing London around this time in 2005. Yeah, I forgot about that because I was like a little kid. Not little, I was like 15. But like I was a kid when that was happening and it was across the seas, But like I was like, holy fuck. It was the same location.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Same street anyway. Anyway, we learned that Theo, our protagonist, is a functioning alcoholic, a cynic, and he's behind on his rent. There's the deleted scene where his landlord is like, hey, I have to kick you out. You're 4 months behind on rent. That's why he's more susceptible to the bribe from the fishes.
I gotcha.
So anyway, after skipping out on work to hang out with his elderly hippie friend Jasper, played by Michael Caine, we learned that Theo, Jasper's wife Janice, and Theo's ex-wife Julian were all activists some years prior. Janice was captured by the government and tortured to the point of being catatonic. Theo and Julian, we learn, parted ways after their young child, Dylan, died in a worldwide pandemic almost 20 years prior.
Oh, yeah, the fucking pandemic, too.
Yeah, I know, dude. What the fuck? It's insane.
It is insane.
Anyway.
You also find out that Jasper, Michael Caine's character, used to be a political cartoonist.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, I have that in here.
Is
Jasper,
it? Okay.
meanwhile, is a lovable, lighthearted, retired political cartoonist that now grows and sells weed.
Yeah. And kind of lives off the grid.
He is such a fun character.
Oh, yeah, he's the only
It's impossible not to smile when he's on screen.
Yeah.
It's Michael Caine, at his most charming. He's doing so much. So on Theo's way back from Jasper's, he is kidnapped by the Fishes, a militant activist group fighting for refugees' rights, which is now led by Julian, Theo's ex-wife. Julian apologizes for the theatrics, but explains that they need him to obtain transit papers for a young refugee. They offer to pay him for it, but they need him to get it because his brother is a well-connected art preservationist high up in the government. Theo agrees, either desperate for money or to respark his relationship with his ex-wife. Theo meets with his brother, who, along with the other upper class of British society, is completely removed from the ills of societal decay by living in a decadent, sophisticated, modern tower that's removed from the public.
They got the money. The whole scene is amazing.
When he's being driven,
yeah,
across the bridge or something to where all the rich people live, and you see this huge park full of these rich people playing with zebras and shit.
No smog.
Oh yeah, it's all clean. There's grass and trees that are alive,
and it's
disgusting. It makes you so mad,
Jared. It's also multicultural.
Oh, I didn't clock that.
Yeah, there are dudes there.
It's not just
that
all
are
white people
walking with camels. No, there are wealthy immigrants
Yeah.
living there.
Yeah.
He takes careful time.
Damn, I hate that I didn't clock that now. Yeah.
Jared.
There's a lot to read into like his son that's in the room with him, because presumably he's one of that generation that's like the youngest people alive.
Yeah.
But he's like got a bunch of like tattoos or scars or something.
Yeah, he's got some scars on his face. He's got tattoos on his face.
And he's like doing
he's playing a video game.
Like a sci-fi, I think he's texting or something.
Oh,
But
yeah.
he's like got like maybe an AR thing, because you don't really see, he's just looking at a cube in front of him and he's like moving his fingers to play with it.
Yeah.
And that's all he's doing. He's just sitting at the table just staring at
He's
it.
a fail son.
And, yeah, that's absolutely like, you're like, oh, this is just kids on their phone now.
Yeah.
Like they
Take your pills.
They knew exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird. Well, yeah, that whole scene is bananas. Like I could have written a few more paragraphs about that scene, but I wanted to get through
Well,
it
I'm
as
going to
fast as
circle
possible.
back on to his brother anyways.
Oh,
but
okay.
continue.
So Theo is able to obtain the transit papers from his brother, but with the condition that he accompanies the refugee the entire time. So later, Theo and Julian begin their journey, and Theo meets Key, the immigrant that he is tasked with escorting, as well as Fish's members Miriam, a former midwife, and Luke, one of Julian's lieutenants. During their travel, the group is attacked on the road by an ambushing gang, and Julian is killed by motorcyclists as they attempt to escape. Theo manages to fend off the attacking motorcyclist, and the group scrambles to a safe house out in the countryside, where leaders of the Fishes are assembling to choose their new leader. So that scene where they're attacked in the minivan is one of, I think, like one of the best single shots in a movie. It is exhilarating.
The way that they filmed it, because I remember I watched the extras on the DVD.
Yes, and there's one featurette just about
that and how
because
they
it was
filmed it.
so intensive.
Yeah.
They practiced for like 12 days.
Oh no shit.
The minivan rig had like a canopy on top with like 4 people in it operating the car.
Yeah.
And then there was a camera guy in the middle that had like levers to control all the passengers so that he could move them up and down out of the camera's way. And then so that the camera could pivot around, because it does 360 degrees in the van. It's fucking wild how they orchestrated this. It is so good.
It's an exhilarating fucking shot too.
Yeah.
Like,
it was all one take of them just traveling.
yeah.
And you like, first you are getting to know characters in this van, because you only know like 2 of them really.
Yeah.
And then we're meeting all of our protagonists here basically. And then they're like getting to know each other.
It's very lighthearted.
Yeah. Theo and Julian start flirting again.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden,
it goes to
they're
shit
attacked
immediately.
One of them dies.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild. And then you learn more about the scene later.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, actually, there's more happening.
Yeah.
Here.
That's crazy.
I don't know what else to say. It's so good. You could talk about this scene for hours.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
There's another one towards the end of the film that's also like really long and really good.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh, man. It's so good. They get to this farm out in the countryside where the Fishes are hiding. And, the leaders of the Fishes are assembling to choose a new leader because Julian's been killed. So at this time, Key pulls Theo aside in a barn and reveals to him that Julian told her to trust him and only him if their plan went sideways. Theo's confused by this. He's like, I don't know why she told you that. And he begins to walk away, but Key stops him and says, wait, I want to show you something. And she opens up her cloak or something to reveal that she's pregnant. And Theo looks at this and just mutters, Jesus Christ. So she's probably the first pregnant person in 18 years, at least.
Yeah.
I think. Luke witnesses Key reveal this to Theo and tells him, now you understand how important this mission is. Their plan is to take Key to a buoy just off the coast of Bexhill, a city that's been turned into an immigration detention center, so that she can be picked up by the Human Project, a mythical organization which operates a remote seafaring vessel while attempting to make scientific breakthroughs in human fertility.
Okay, that's what it was. Because as many times as I've seen this film, I've never really understood what the Human Project was. Like, if it is...
Well, there's a lot of people that don't believe in it.
Right.
But then there are the optimists like Jasper, who are like, no, of course it's real. Like, it has to be.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no hope kind of thing. You know?
Yeah.
There's graffiti throughout the film
that talks about
hinting about it.
Yeah.
And The Last of Us ripped this off for the Fireflies.
But yes, I know.
The Last of Us, I'm going to reiterate this, ripped off. I keep saying ripped off. They liberally borrowed, looted, and stole a lot from this movie.
Cuck, man. but
like in the best way. It made the
of
game
course.
better for it, I guess.
Oh yeah,
but
100%.
like,
but what I was going to say
God.
is I didn't realize it was a seafaring festival. I thought that maybe it had to be on land. It had to be somewhere, but
no, they reference it a few times throughout the film, but like they're on a boat that's constantly moving, so that they can't be caught or destroyed, kind of thing, by the government and stuff. But like, there's so much debate. They're like, no, Theo's convinced it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
but he's like, it's what you want to do, so we'll do it, kind of thing.
He just wants to get the money and get out.
I mean, up until this point, I feel like once he sees that she's pregnant,
no, he's galvanized.
I think he is no longer a reluctant hero. He's like, no, I understand the stakes. He
has a reason to live now.
I honestly think he was intrigued by the money, but he was also intrigued by reuniting with his ex.
Yeah.
But then once he sees that Key's pregnant, I think he's already like, oh, fuck.
This is more important than anything. This is the most important thing
I think he's coming to terms with it. But then after what happens immediately following here, like fully invest him. Mm-hmm. He knows he can't walk away. So anyway, that night, Theo awakens to a motorcycle approaching the farmhouse and witnesses the man that murdered Julian demanding medical aid from the Fish's leaders for his brother, which Theo wounded during their escape. Theo sneaks downstairs and overhears that Luke planned the ambush to kill Julian, allowing him to become the new leader, and that they plan to kill Theo the next morning. So alarmed, Theo wakes up Key and Miriam, and they escape the farmhouse and make their way to Jasper's.
Another really tense,
riveting sequence. I love that he's walking around to all the cars, stealing the keys, and in the one car he can't find the keys, he rips out like a tube, and it crashes later when they're chasing after him. It's so good. So they get to Jasper's, and Jasper is, of course, delighted by Key's pregnancy. He quickly makes the trio at home and entertains them.
Because he's ever the optimist, dude.
Oh my God, he's the best. He is. But yeah, he's entertaining them with tales of his and Theo's past. Jasper also makes a plan with one of his customers who buys pot from him, named Sid, who is a camp guard at Bexhill. He agrees to smuggle the group into Bexhill so that they can catch the ship just off the coast. Unfortunately, the Fishes locate Jasper's home, and before they reach the actual house itself, because he has like security cameras set up,
and he has like heavy metal that play like really awful.
Yeah, he's an alarm that plays a Aphex Twin song.
Oh, you're kidding me!
No, I'm dead serious. Yeah,
it's so bad.
Like earlier in the movie, he is like, "Hey, do you want to hear some modern music?"
Yeah,
and he just starts playing that Aphex Twin song. Yeah. It intentionally sounds really bad. Yeah,
that's funny.
I do like how he feels like a throwback in a futuristic movie.
Oh yeah,
like this guy's like a hippie set in like the 70s or 80s. But like this movie's set like 20 years in the future, and it's like, oh, that's really fun. Because like movies don't do that. They're all too focused about the future, Like I think Demolition Man is like the only futuristic movie that's like got someone that has like a fetish for the past kind of thing that we recognize, Yeah. Anyway, just a small little tangent. So anyway, Jasper insists that he and his wife stay behind and tells Theo, Miriam, and Key to move on without him, and he'll distract them and keep them off their tail.
Yeah, basically. He says, I'll talk to him. I've dealt with worse people.
Yeah, he's like, I've talked my way out of worse. Yeah. So Theo, Miriam, and Key drive up the hill and watch from a safe distance. And meanwhile, we see Jasper euthanize his wife and his dog with quietus, which is this new drug that the government is promoting for anyone who wants to take their own life. Apparently, it's a very peaceful way to go. But he administers it to his wife and his dog. And then we watch the Fishes pull up to the house and start interrogating Jasper. But he is undeterred, and he keeps offering them to pull his finger.
Yep.
And
he says, pull my finger, and then he says, fuck you, and then he pull my finger.
Yeah. Well, he is brutally shot to death, unfortunately. And devastated, the trio drive off to an abandoned school to wait for Sid, the camp guard that's going to smuggle them in. After exploring the hauntingly abandoned school for a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Real quick.
Yeah,
so, what's funny is, so Haley watched it with me last night as well, and when they got to the school thing, she remarked how the first time she'd watched the movie, she's like, "Why does the school look like that?"
Because there hasn't been kids, and
she thought about it. She's like, "Oh, that's right. There's been
it's one of those things where like it sets in, and you're like, "Oh, fuck,
yeah."
There hasn't been kids for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
What else would they do? Yeah.
It's totally abandoned.
It's like, it's completely dilapidated. It looks like a Last of Us level.
It does.
And there's a deer just wandering through it.
Yeah.
It's so funny how you can just make parallels to the game that ripped it off. So the next morning, Sid pulls up in a big armored Humvee outside with a turret on the top.
An automated turret too. Yeah. That was crazy.
Terrifying. And he's very tense and like off-putting. but like he
Yeah.
keeps cracking jokes.
Yeah.
The tension with him is so good.
Well, because
Like,
he's
you can't really get a read for him, but you kind of like do like Clive is like doing like awkward chuckles, being like, yeah, I guess he's I guess he's helping us.
It's a power and control thing.
Man,
Like,
it's so bizarre.
Yeah. Jasper's dead, and Sid.
Yeah.
We're talking about Sid.
So Sid is really off-putting, like I said.
He's a fascist pig.
Yeah, that's their code word.
Is it? Is it their code word?
But Sid escorts them into Bexhill and gives the group a contact to meet inside that will give them safe lodging for the night. And
Marichka.
as they're beginning their entrance into the camp, Key begins having contractions, and the trio witnesses unspeakable acts of cruelty and horror being enacted upon immigrants by the police and or the military. I mean, they're all the same at this point.
Yeah.
After an overzealous officer begins to single out Key on a bus, Miriam intervenes and causes a scene, leading her to be separated from the group, but keeping Key and Theo on the bus to move on to the camp. That scene's pretty wild.
That scene is awful.
As they pull away, we see her being lined up with these other people that have been pulled off the buses.
And then she gets black bagged.
Yeah, they put a black bag over her head.
Yeah.
We see people in cages, I think purposely reminiscent of Abu Ghraib.
Oh, yeah.
Which
yeah.
had like kind of just happened right before this was made.
Yeah.
So there's like naked people and like in hoods in these cages and stuff.
There's people on their knees in hoods.
And then I think as it goes down the line,
It shows
there's
you,
just bodies.
Yeah.
Like they're just executing these people.
It's the escalation of how you say deportation or solving the problem kind of thing, where first you have to house these people, then that gets too expensive, and then you start weeding people out and slowly but surely selecting those to murder because you don't have to feed or house those people anymore.
Yeah. And I think it's implied that Miriam eventually gets murdered at this
Probably.
point. Yeah.
They make it to Beck.
Okay, so Key and Theo move on and eventually reach Marichka, a Romanian woman that takes them to a dilapidated apartment that serves as their safe haven for the night.
Mm-hmm.
Theo assists Key, who proceeds to successfully give birth to her baby girl.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very touching scene, and thankfully everything goes well for them.
Yeah. Also, everybody assumed it was a boy.
That's right. Everyone was assuming it was going to be a boy, and this is a pointed moment later when Luke is arguing with Theo about it, and he just goes, "It's a girl," you know. So early the next morning, Theo.
That's a pretty important thing, I think.
Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah, we'll talk
So
about
in
it when
the
we get
book,
there.
it's the other way around.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, I know.
I'm glad it was a girl in the film.
I agree.
And I'll explain it when we get to look at the end there.
So early the next morning, Theo and Key are awakened by Sid pounding at the door. Sid enters despite Marichka's protest and announces that the city is currently being ripped apart by warring government military forces and various opposition groups and terrorists, including the Fishes, who have bombed their way inside of the camp the night before.
Yeah, they opened up a hole, and that means he's like something about
He says the government.
Fence
Yeah, he says the government thinks it's for the immigrants to get out, but I know it's for the Fishes to get in.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's like, oh shit, like this city, which was already bad, is going to hell right now, like right outside. He explains that he's learned that both Theo and Key are wanted by both the government and the Fishes, so he wishes to turn them over to the highest bidder, thinking he can get a bounty out of this. Theo and Key, assisted by Marichka, fend off Sid and manage to get away from him. I think Theo just straight up clocks him with a rock and kills him.
No, he picks up a car battery.
Was it a car
It's
battery?
a car battery.
Rock.
Go watch the scene again.
God
he
damn.
picks up a fucking car battery and smacks him in the face, and you're not coming back from that.
I don't think he is. I think he spits blood.
He's very dead.
I will say, our hero of this film isn't like an action hero. He is constantly getting beat up and stumbling and shit. Never picks up a gun. Pointedly never picks up a gun.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay. But like, I think very pointedly never picks up a gun.
that is a definite careful consideration.
I think Alfonso never wanted the action to look cool. He never wanted him to be like a Bruce Willis type.
Yeah.
He didn't want this to be like a fun action movie.
He's Isaac Clarke, dude. He's a normal dude.
That's a weird. Okay.
That's how they described him, and that's where my brain went.
Who? How did who describe him?
In Dead Space.
Oh, I see what
Yeah,
you're saying.
the developers was like, Isaac's a miner. Like he's there.
Like, he's an engineer.
Yeah, he doesn't shoot. You know.
Anyway, they fend off Sid and escape into the city, which they have to like dodge various gunfights, tank battles, and then Luke and the Fishes eventually catch up to them. And Luke makes off with Key and the baby, while Theo is pulled aside by Patrick, the shitty white guy with dreads, Charlie Hunnam's character.
He's not just a white guy; he's Irish.
Right, he's Irish. That's right. And a shitty Irish guy with dreadlocks. And Patrick's going to execute him, but they're interrupted by government forces that roll in with a tank. Theo then starts scrambling after Luke and Key, who are inside this building, which is under siege by a tank battalion. Theo is able to get inside and reaches Key and the baby. He then gets shot at by Luke. The gunfire causes Key's baby to cry, which causes confusion and sympathy amongst all the warring soldiers. The fishes, the immigrants, everybody stop. They stop fighting. And Theo and Key, holding the baby, are able to hobble down out of the building while everyone just kind of parts for them to get through. It is such an intense and touching scene.
Yeah.
Because everyone is stopping. People who were literally just shooting at each other seconds ago are stopping face to face to look at this baby as it makes its way through the crowd. And even the immigrants that are being caught in the crossfire, like, are stopping to, like, bless it, you know, and are waving at it and speaking in their native tongue, giving blessings and things. Even the fishes, you know, that were shooting at these soldiers a second ago are stopping to look at the baby. And all the soldiers, you can see them, like, ordering everyone down the line to stop firing.
Yeah.
And they're just, like, taking their, you know, goggles up and just looking at it in amazement.
A huge contrast to earlier when Theo's trying to get into the building and, like, 7 people walk out with white flags. And
that's right. People are trying to surrender and they just get
obliterated.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
But the soldiers call down and make a specific point to let these 3 people out.
Right. Yeah. They're like, yeah, let them through. Like, yeah, they let them go.
Of course, that ends almost immediately.
Well, yeah. So they get all the way outside. They're almost, I think, out of harm's way, but then a rocket goes off from, like, the second floor of the building.
Yeah, hits a tank,
and then all the fighting just resumes. It's rough. But they manage to meet back up with Marichka, who takes them to a small paddle boat, and Theo and Key get inside with the baby. And as they, you know, go out to shore, they insist on Marichka coming with them, but she's like, no, go in the boat, go in the boat. It's so touching. I love her. Because, like, at first you're kind of annoyed by her because her and her dog are kind of
like
annoying.
really fucking
and
annoying,
even Key is like, get her the fuck out of here.
Yeah, she has to go.
But she ends up, like, saving them so many times.
Oh,
it's just so good. But yeah, they row their boat out into the complete fog. You can't see anything. But they find the buoy that they're supposed to wait at for the Human Project boat. And Key sees a pool of blood in the boat and starts freaking out. And Theo tells her, no, it's okay. Like, it's my blood. I got shot earlier. And he's just come to terms with it now. He's like, I did it. Like, I got you here. It's okay. You know, you can see he's accepting it. And the baby is still crying, and he starts walking her through how to burp it.
Yeah.
You know, and because he had a kid of his own, you know. And the whole movie, I glossed over this, but she's thinking of different names for the kid, and all of them are pretty bad
Foley
names.
and Bazooka.
But she tells him at this point, she's like, I've decided I'm going to name her Dylan. It can be a girl's name too. And
that was the name of his son.
That was his son's name. Yeah. And you see him smile just before he slouches over and dies. And then Key starts to freak out a little bit, but then she sees
the boat.
Yeah, the Tomorrow Project boat pull up. And the film cuts to black, and you just hear kids laughing.
Yep. That's a really good movie.
Yeah, it's I love that, just the subtle, just hearing kids playing.
Yep, and laughing is
over the credits.
Yeah,
is all you need to know that, like, we persevered, like, we did it.
Yeah,
like, they were able to save humanity essentially, and, like, without having to do, like, some weird montage or, like,
to really show you, like, drive the point home.
Right. It's just like, no, it worked out. You know, like, it ends on a very hopeful note. And it does, of course, play the Jarvis Cocker song, "The Cunts Are Still in Charge," after that, though, too. Which is a great song.
I think that's like a callback to Jasper in a way.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it plays a lot of really great, like, British rock. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy that Alfonso Cuarón predicted microplastics in the balls?
Yes. Okay, that's all I could think about watching this. Okay, so
that's all I could think about, too.
In the book, it's the male sperm count disappears.
Oh,
and in the movie, it's pointedly said that it's women who are infertile.
Yeah, it's at first it was like a couple of miscarriages, and then all of a sudden there was nothing.
And then they just had
out.
like no babies on the books.
Miriam's the one that tells us all this.
But yeah, it is like, man, plastic is apparently stored in the balls. That's what's going to do this, right?
Yeah.
We do get plenty of like, the movie does, pointedly show that they're pollution, but it doesn't want to ascribe what's causing this
one specific
to any
thing.
one thing. It just, because there's someone who literally says like, who can say what it is? And like pollution is one of the many things it could be at this point.
I think Jasper ruminates on that. Yeah.
But we do see that like the landscape is just polluted all to hell. Because like there's like a really crazy scene where they're driving down the countryside and there's just like, they're constantly burning cows on the side of the road.
Cows are being burned.
But there's just like foamy liquid pouring out of like this pipe. There's just trash everywhere. Like it's awful.
Well, once the future looks bleak, like what's the point of taking care of it? I think is
right. I think that's what they're. Yeah, for sure. I think it's pointed though too that like we're constantly seeing like bodies of cows being burned in fields, but when we see that Key is pregnant for the first time, the big reveal, she's surrounded by livestock.
Cows.
Like living cows. So pointedly. I keep saying pointedly.
It's all good.
And she's also giving an anecdote about how milking machines are designed with only four milkers, and so they cut off
the other
2 of the cow's tits because they have 6.
Yep.
She's like, isn't that stupid? Why don't they design the machine to have 6 milkers instead of 4?
That is humanity conquering nature.
Exactly. And I think that's I think what they're trying to say about that is like, we're no longer we're working to make nature meet us instead of the other way around sort of thing. Yeah.
Dude, let's talk about some of the really cool things in this film that I absolutely love. So things that I think were informed by the director, or maybe this is just something that anybody who's ever studied revolutions would point out. But this is something that I learned this year. A lot of grassroots revolutions are started or helmed by or led by women.
Yeah.
And it's because the men in power, patriarchy, what have you, they don't respect women. They don't see women. And so it makes it easier to operate under the scenes as a woman.
Yeah.
And Julian is the head of the Fishes before she is unceremoniously cooed by Luke, right? That was a really cool touch that I enjoyed. When we open up the movie and see, baby Diego's dead, who's all crying? Women. Women are the only people who are affected by the passing of this kid, which is why Theo's boss is like, what the fuck?
When he asked to go home early for it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because like he asked to go home because of Diego, not because he narrowly avoided being blown up that morning.
Yeah.
You notice that? Like he didn't even mention that like I almost got blown up. He's like, no, I'm actually sad about Diego. Can I go home?
Mm-hmm.
Thought that was really weird. And I don't know if that's a comment on Theo's character or like British masculinity as a whole. Because I know that is like a stiff upper lip kind of thing in Britain where it's like, you got to soldier on. You got to carry on and like don't let yourself get down kind of thing. So I don't know if that's what it is or just like how Theo is like kind of a disaffected piece of shit at this point kind of thing too. Maybe. Yeah. You could go both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that I thought was really cool. See, you pointed out that Theo never picks up a gun. Jared, no women pick up any firearms in the film.
I disagree. There is at least one soldier that gets a big close up while they're walking out of the building with the baby crying. One of those like militarized police soldiers is a woman.
Oh, I did not catch that.
When they're coming down the stairs, a woman walks past them and gets a real good look at the baby, but she's got a big rifle.
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah.
I'd been watching the entire film. Okay, I'm sorry. When you are a cop, you are no longer a man or a woman. You are a pig. And so that one does not count, Jared. Thank you. Good day. Okay. Or, and no woman touches a piece of firearm unless they are employed by the state. Thank you. Anyways, so there's that. Another one that I thought was interesting is Theo talks about the explosion at the beginning. Is like, when he's talking about the fish, like, oh, you guys,
when he's arguing with them, like, oh, you guys don't blow
you almost got me
anybody
the
up
other
anymore?
day, and Julian's like, oh well, no, that wasn't us. That's a false flag thing.
That was the government. Yeah, she's like, we stopped blowing people up after Liverpool.
I don't know about that. It clearly there was already like schisms there. There's a good possibility that was.
I don't think we could ever know.
No, we can't.
But I do think. I think Julian might be right because I totally see this. I wouldn't put it past this government at this point.
Sure.
Because they're already doing incredibly awful things. Like, why wouldn't they do that to sow discord and distrust?
False flag thing. Okay, well, that is a good example of a false flag.
Yeah, and to make the uprising like look worse, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Does Britain have a Department of Homeland Security?
They do, but I don't know what it's called. Probably a Ministry of.
Gotcha. Because
immigration.
When
they love to call things ministry.
Sure. When Theo and Key are going to Bextel, they go through a little port and it says Homeland Security.
Yeah.
And I immediately think about here in America.
No, that was on purpose.
Yeah.
Alfonso did a lot of the work on his ideas for this film after being stuck in a hotel because of 9/11. Yeah, I think he was like at TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, and like couldn't leave his hotel. He couldn't go back home because of 9/11 happened, and you like couldn't get a plane, and he was like, fuck. And he's like watching the news and being like, oh shit, the government is going to do all this crazy shit now. Because
they did.
This. Yeah, of course. He was right. Yeah. We got the Patriot Act and everything for it.
A couple other things. So when you were talking about the conflict in Bextel and you said, different organizations are starting, warring and whatnot, we get a very kind of long scene with what looks like Islamist soldiers carrying.
Yeah, all the guys shouting Allahu Akbar and carrying flags with like, I don't read Arabic, but Arabic
and carrying the body
symbols.
Of, I guess, someone who had been assassinated.
We never see who that person is. Yeah, no. So I'm just assuming it's a soldier of theirs that got killed.
Yeah, but like, damn, in 2006 in America, like that scene, that's crazy, dude.
And they're not
the bad guys. They're not the antagonists.
They're not shooting at our beloved characters.
No,
they're just like ducking and weaving between them.
Yeah, as they are marching to their potential deaths. I also want to point out there was another faction, small, but still, that were running towards the action, and the group of people were carrying French flags.
I saw that. I didn't understand who they were, though.
They're counter-revolutionaries.
I mean, I guess
France has a great history of overthrowing
being associated with those movements,
governments and whatnot. So I thought that was a really neat callback to that.
Don't remember because we get a little bit about other countries in like the propaganda commercials where it's like, here's all the other countries and cities
everything
that have fallen.
Is bad, but it's British soldiers
Britain stands
alone, yeah.
So I wonder if if there's like...
They have immigrants of all places. There's like, I mean, fuck, if you go into the IMDb and scroll through the actors and whatnot, it's a lot of like no-name people, and like one is German woman.
So
German refugee.
We get a very clear shot of like a German like grandmotherly person in a cage on the side of the road with other immigrants.
Yeah.
And she's like, shouting something in German to Theo as he passes by. So what she's saying in German is, why am I in this cell with these other dark-skinned immigrants?
And that right there is another fantastic like show don't tell moment where the xenophobia in Britain has gotten so strong that being white is not saving you. It's being poor and not from Britain.
And not only that, but like you don't even see what you have in common with the people that you're in a cage with, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a double thing there.
Yeah,
which I thought was really.
You can't even sympathize that, like, oh yeah, we're both on the same side of the cell. Like we should be working together.
Exactly.
Not me being like, oh fucking, I'm in here with like these other guys from another country.
These undesirables.
God,
so good.
Leopards ate my face.
What the fuck? What else is there? I'm trying to remember everything. Just some of the shots in this film is so good. Let's go back to the Last of Us scene in the school where Miriam is talking to Theo, and she's talking about how she used to be
worked in
a
the hospital
doula, and she's like uniquely qualified for this one position. The shot that I'm thinking of, and I always come back to this shot is Miriam and Theo are on the right hand of the screen discussing with one another, just the circumstances that they're in. And Key is outside on a swing, perfectly framed through a hole in the
shattered
window.
hole in the glass. Yeah. And you just see her on the swing set. Yeah.
So good.
It's great. The poster for the film, which may have been the one you had in your room, there's two main ones. One is like Clive peeking around like a destroyed boulder, and another one is him looking through a window, and there's a perfect hole cut into it from damage.
That is the one
that's the one you had. Okay, yeah. Real quick, there's another smaller scene that like doesn't get the attention of like, the other two long takes that we mentioned that I really like, and it's shortly after Julian's killed in the van attack. They're just kind of like hiding in the woods, like trying to figure out what they're going to do. Miriam is like performing like a ceremony over Julian's body and like puts like a little medallion on her forehead.
Yeah.
And Julian like walks away to light a cigarette, and he just kind of collapses behind a tree and just starts crying. It's the only time he really shows emotion.
Oh yeah.
And just completely falls apart. And again, I think that's the British masculinity thing in him, where it's like you got to keep it together, so he like never lets himself fall apart, but he just allows himself to walk away and kind of collapse in this moment. But he only gets to a few seconds, because in the background Luke pulls up and says like, hey, we got to go, and he calls like, Theo, we have to go, we're going to a farm, let's go. And so he just like picks himself back up and heads off. It's
another excellent like show don't tell thing was that montage of all the different countries and problems, and they show like a nuke going off in New York. Yeah,
they never say explicitly what happened, but other characters reference like, oh, I'm so sorry about New York. It's like presumably if you knew anybody in New York, they're dead now.
Yeah, Theo's mom was in New York.
Yeah, and I guess Julian's parents were too, because he says it right back to her. Yeah.
I thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
And I think Julian is the only character with an American accent. In the film.
Yeah.
And then just the difference between men and women in this film. Almost all of the women, like I said, are shown being very sympathetic to the death of baby Diego, are all in caring roles. Like Miriam is obviously very caring over Key, very protective.
Even
Key.
Marichka, which we are like, you're a little apprehensive about at first, but ends up being, incredibly helpful.
Yeah, she while our protagonists are being shot at, Marichka takes the baby, and Key's like freaks out. She's like,
she's like, my baby. She's taking my baby, but like she just disappears for a second and comes right back in frame and is waiting for them to get out. It makes you panic for a moment.
Gets the baby out of harm's way.
Yeah.
Because
that's right. That's why she disappears. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And then the difference between men and women, where all of the violence and antagonism come from the male characters. I mean, it feels like Luke coups Julian just so that he can violently overthrow the government, because the slow, it's too slow for him.
On that note, while the like heads of the fishes are meeting to discuss who should take over for Julian, the only person that is pointedly saying like, we agreed not to use Key's baby as like a tool for us or to like for political purposes is that the woman that owns the farm.
Yeah.
I don't know her name.
She's sitting down.
We only meet her for like a moment.
Yeah.
But I think she's the only person that's opposed to like Luke, or at least Luke's plans. I don't think she knows that Julian was assassinated.
Nobody does. Yeah.
Presumably. Well, Patrick did.
Yeah. Patrick did.
And then that more posh looking guy that wears glasses.
Yeah. And Alex, there's another soldier who's like from Poland.
Oh, yeah.
An immigrant from Poland, Alexei or something like that. Yeah, it's like only men knew about the cooing.
Yeah. But yeah, because I remember like the one female leader of the fishes that owns this farm is like, we agreed never to use Key's baby as a political tool. And that's exactly what Luke's aim is. And that's why he wanted Julian assassinated, apparently.
And that's also why he assumed the kid was a boy. No, I'm dead serious.
No, I think that was just his own misogyny.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean that's a good possibility. I thought that the person who wrote the book was a dude, so like, points for him. But no, what I was gonna get at is like, he wants violent revolution. I think that he wanted this kid to come out as a boy and use this kid as a beacon of
a John Connor,
like a rallying point.
Yeah,
the leader of the revolution is here. he has been born like a second coming of Jesus Christ. And the moment that he finds out that it's a girl, his demeanor changes.
Yeah.
Like he's disarmed.
Is that part of his worldview being kind of flipped maybe? And
That disappointment, I think, first and foremost, his worldview being flipped, and also like, he even says like, I had a sister.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure he's thinking fondly of that before he fucking shoots Luke like a dickhead.
God.
But like,
I like how when he shoots Luke or Theo.
I'm so sorry. He shoots Theo. That's
yeah.
my bad.
Like, I don't remember clocking it the first time I saw it.
Same.
And I pointedly remember that he gets shot and killed. And when Luke shoots him, it's clear as day he hits Theo.
Yeah.
But the movie doesn't really let you sit on it. And so you kind of forget it's happening because he doesn't even react to it a lot. He just kind of moves on and gets...
He's got full adrenaline. He's like, I have to get this kid to this fucking movie.
It's much later in the boat you realize like, oh, he's dying. He's dead. And it's like, it's such a good way that like it shows it, but it doesn't let you kind of like connect for it for a second and you forget about it because so much other things are happening.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what you would do in that moment because like your adrenaline would be pumping and you're focused on one thing, protecting, this woman and her baby.
Yeah.
Obviously you would probably just move right past it too if it wasn't like too serious of a wound kind of thing.
Yeah. Two more things and then I'm done. I wanted to kind of go back to Theo's brother. I can't remember his fucking name, but he's played by the guy from 30 Days a Night.
I don't remember his name either. In the book, it's like Zan or something, and he's like going to be the next, not prime minister. It's worse. He's like a full on dictator.
Oh,
it's
cool.
really crazy in the book. Yeah.
Well, it's what a great sequence of showing like what the privileged class gets to enjoy while everybody else is fucking suffering.
And he's just talking about all this different art he's trying to salvage from museums. And Theo is just straight up like,
who's going to look at this stuff when we're all
it's
gone?
pretty wild. Like no one's going to give a shit about this in 30 years. We're all going to be dead. And this is all you care about.
Yeah. And like, you could see that in the window behind him, this a floating pig.
Do you know what that's a reference to?
Fascism?
It's a Pink Floyd album.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
I don't listen to Pink Floyd, so.
This movie is heavily influenced by Pink Floyd.
Oh.
Like the themes of Pink Floyd, I guess you could say.
I gotcha. Explain it to me, Jared. I would like to hear.
I'm not the biggest Pink Floyd dude.
Oh, never mind then.
but I did remember clocking that as a teenager because my dad had that album like in the next room over. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's got to be a reference to that because it's like very pointed.
Do you want to know what I thought about?
Yeah, what's up?
The one, I think it's the first episode of the first season of Black Mirror where the prime minister fucks the pig.
Yeah.
That's immediately where my brain went.
I mean, obviously that came out much later.
Yeah, it did.
But like, I do think British people think of pigs as like, and I mean, pigs are gross. There's a reason a lot of cultures don't eat pigs.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, you're supposed to think of that without knowing the Pink Floyd reference. Yeah, for sure. You're supposed to take away that like this is symbolizing decadence and decay and pigs and shit kind of thing.
And then the last thing that I want to talk about was Theo. Actually, so Theo is our in a way our narrator. He's the person that we see the point of view of the most.
Yeah, I think there's only one scene in the whole movie that isn't focused on Theo, and it's when Jasper euthanizes his wife.
Oh, that's right.
His dog.
Yeah. I think it's such an interesting way of using him as a vehicle to get us to kind of like agree with everything that he's doing, right?
Yeah.
So, and the way I mean that is you bring up a good point of he used baby Diego's death to get a day off instead of like this explosion that could have potentially happened to him, and how he was only motivated by money. I actually kind of wish the deleted scene was still in there, but I guess it's not that hard to think like the world is shit. Like, of course, you want some sort of currency.
And Julian, when he says he doesn't need the money that bad or something, Julian pushes back and is like, "Come on, we know you do."
Yeah,
and it's like I think that's enough. I think that's why the director was like, "We don't need this scene."
Sure. I got you.
Down his door, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the galvanizing moment of finding out that he has the first baby in 18 years is kind of like this moment that could happen to any of us, right? We have no idea how bad the next 4+ years are gonna be. We don't know what the moment in the real world will be that maybe lights a fire in your soul, makes you want to do something good. It wants to maybe help someone in need, wants to organize or activate a community to take care of those that could be very negatively affected by policy of the next 4 years. And so if you go and you watch this film and you find yourself very related to Theo, you know, we're all mostly middle class, maybe lower middle class. We all can be so grinded down by everything that's happening around us, you know, war, the climate, the crushing weight of feeling like you don't have control over your life, much like this guy. And I urge you, if you watch this film and you don't feel like you couldn't be motivated to go do some good, then maybe you should find some quietus and end it. Just kidding.
No, I think what you're getting at is like help the people around you.
Yeah.
There are so many people that are going to need it. And if you're listening to this, you're probably fortunate enough that like you're not going to be in that much of need. So provide it to those you can, you know, and you don't even need to go that far out of your way. You probably don't even need to leave your neighborhood kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are people that are going to need your help. And be that support, be that mutual aid, you know, like build a community, like get away from social media as a whole.
Go touch grass.
Exactly.
For
touch
real.
Grass.
Go outside.
But start a community, like a local community, like start a Discord with like your immediate friends, like cut off the toxic people in your life. I know there's a big push right now to like, don't invite the Trump supporters to your Thanksgiving kind of stuff. I mean, if you need to go that far for your own mental health, like that's fine. But like, remember that like, say you have a family member that like, you're pretty sure voted for Trump, but they're not openly gloating in your face. Maybe don't cut them off, because you might only further entrench them by doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be praxised in its own way by staying in contact with your parents and letting them know like how this is affecting you negatively. You know, like here are the things that are going to happen, or here's what is currently happening. You know, here's what the precautions my family is taking, kind of stuff, you know, and make sure they know the real world effects that this election is having.
Yeah. The moment that the average person starts suffering just like you are, don't say, I told you so.
Yeah.
Say, point out, this is the reason why it's happening. And now is the time to do something about it.
Don't be a sore loser, but unfortunately we got some sore winners.
Yeah. And then I guess one last thing is, much like the hope that this child brings all the characters in the film, you don't know how far your help and aid may go.
Yeah.
And that could be the light at the end of the tunnel for someone.
Even to use exactly things that happen in this film as an example, even opening your home to someone in a time of need, or giving them a pair of Adidas that fits them.
That's right. Oh, because fucking Clive,
this dude is in flip-flops for so much of this movie.
He's missing his shoes when he flees the farm, and then those flip-flops get ruined pretty quickly, and he's shoeless again.
He's shoeless through like so much of that battle.
At least 2/3 of the movie.
Like when he gets brought into like, I think it's like a Romanian family near the end. Yeah. And they're all playing with the baby. It's adorable. Like the grandmas are like eating oranges and playing with the baby. And then there's like this big dude who like just brings him a pair of Adidas.
Yeah. That Charlie Hunnam fucking unceremoniously kills later on.
Oh, is that guy?
That's the same guy.
Fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, when he just like hands him those Adidas, and like there's no real nothing is spoken about it, but you just see Theo look at them and be like, I wanted him to just be like, oh my God. Thank you.
Been walking on rubble, mate.
I cut the hell out of my foot earlier.
But yeah, get to know your neighbors.
Yeah.
Look after those more marginalized than you.
Another thing too, I feel like is important right now is run for something. I mean, there's a lot of open offices right now. Get on your school board, get on your PTA, get on your city council or commission, join something local.
Change starts with you.
Exactly. You have more power than you think. There are local things that like people don't give a shit about. It's honestly probably just a bunch of old people that don't have anything better to do. Show up, start going to those meetings, start influencing those people. Like start being the voice of reason in the room. I am absolutely not trying to get on a high horse.
And that is why Jared is running for governor in 2026. Vote Jared Rusk.
Absolutely not. This podcast would absolutely get me canceled. But I will say, I don't want to dox myself, but I recently reluctantly became the head of something local here.
Yeah.
And, but you know what I did?
What'd you do?
Even before I became in charge of it, I talked this group out of evicting a lady.
Oh, that's right. I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah. And that is to this day my proudest accomplishment with this group that I'm in. And I was able to save a lady from getting evicted like that. Her whole family, you know.
You made a positive change in that person's life.
That lady doesn't even know who I am.
Yeah.
And I was in the room when they were making that decision. And I was like, I think this is a bad idea. There are so many reasons why this is a bad idea. And it's over such a small amount. And I was able to turn everybody around on it. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of insane to me, how easily that could have happened on one hand.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm very glad I was there and I'm very glad I spoke up. And so let that be a lesson to you listening. That's all it takes. Just show up, go to these meetings, go to your local city council, go to your PTA meetings, you know, because there's a lot of people trying to ban books right now. Mm-hmm. Just show up and say, hey, I think this is a bad idea. Here's why. And that might be all it takes to turn somebody around. All they need is one rational person to show up and say something, and it could make all the difference. And like, we need to start doing that because we are all in our heads, on our phones, getting disconnected and upset about things that we don't have control over. You have to start taking action. And I'll get off my soapbox, but like do the fucking work, you know, like Kamala wasn't going to fix everything. Never was.
Nope.
You know, and like, yeah, we'd be breathing a little easier right now, but shit's still bad.
Yeah.
And it's going to stay bad. Well, like we have to dig ourselves out of this hole, you know. Whew, man, didn't mean to go that hard on that, but
if it wasn't this one, it was gonna be V for Vendetta. If it wasn't V for Vendetta, it was gonna be Snowpiercer. It was gonna happen eventually.
It might be worse on V. Well, folks, that's been our show. Thank you for listening to Debaser. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to us on your podcast app and follow us on social media by searching for @DebaserPod. Oh, let me make an announcement here at this point.
Jared's running for governor, 2026.
Stop. Please stop. I'm not doing that. Twitter's over. I no longer know what that is. Twitter who? I'm not deleting the Debaser Twitter account, but I am soft retiring it, basically. Like, I want it to be there if you ever look us up. But our last post is pointing you to the other places you can find us, because we are now on Blue Sky, baby.
Well, you are.
I'm on Blue Sky.
I'm not.
So is DebaserPod, though.
Yes.
You can find DebaserPod on Blue Sky under the same name, DebaserPod. If you need a social media alternative, because like, I know Threads ain't it. You can't even talk politics on Threads, apparently. It's illegal.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Apparently, they suppress a lot of politics posts.
Okay.
But apparently Blue Sky, like, that's the place, man. It's really blown up in the last few weeks, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's been a very decent place. The owners so far aren't shitheads. You can still post nudity, which apparently is like a good sign, I guess, too.
Until Project 2025 gets rid of your porn. Oh, boy.
Listen, as someone who was in North Carolina recently and found out the hard way that they don't let you even go to Pornhub.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for real.
Damn,
if you go there, there's just this big landing page about like, hey, you need to contact your state legislature because you can't go here right now. Yeah.
Wild.
And
Absolute wild.
The guy that was running for governor, like, has like a long
history,
public porn account.
Oh, I know. On Nude Africa.
Like, crazy shit.
It's tight, dude.
Anyway, we're in the outro. What are we doing?
Pull my finger.
I'm cutting all of this.
No, pull my finger. Don't cut that.
My wonderful co-host, as always, is Will Taylor. Will, where can people find you? And do you have anything to plug?
You can find me on pocket_infinity on Instagram. I'm working an event next week in Atlanta. I'll post pictures of that.
That'll be over by the time this airs.
It will be done and over by the time this airs, but who cares? I don't fucking care. I'll be open for commissions, but I'm probably going to be booked by the time this comes out. Yeah, man.
You'll be posting some minis on there though. Probably.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'll be posting my work and shit. Hopefully, it'll have some fucking good looking stuff that pour all my anger and depression into.
Absolutely, man. Find a hobby.
Find a hobby.
Like you said, touch grass, get a hobby, man. Mm-hmm. It's the time for it. Anyway, for the Debaser podcast, I'm Jared. Goodbye, everybody. Debaser is hosted and produced by Will Taylor and Jared Rusk. Want to email the show? Send it to debaserpod@gmail.com. Want to help us out? Please leave us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice, especially Apple Podcasts. Thank you for listening, and take care out there.